The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
Raider Nation, ahoy, this is your captain speaking. Old Raider Nation Jason coming to you with another episode after a heartbreaking loss in New York against the Giants, 16-23. Heartbreaking, back-breaking loss to go along with an already emotional, tumultuous week we already had with what happened with Henry Ruggs and everything that happened and entailed with that. But to go ahead and just get right into it, the offense just did not look good today. Derek Carr was out of sync. I saw him overthrow more balls. There was a few to Brian Edwards that were supposed to be right on the money that were completely wildly overthrown. I can count at least two that were in the back of the end zone and Darren Waller and just did not capitalize on those either. We just looked out of sync. I guess it's easy to see that Henry Ruggs was an integral part of our offense, if for nothing else but to be a backside decoy to take the top off, which I guess brings us to the news that as I was hitting record, the breaking news came through that Desean Jackson is now a Raider. Desean Jackson still has a lot left in the tank. He's not going to be the 4.2, 4.3, 4.4 speed guy he once was, but he still can take the top off the defense. He's still a veteran receiver. He can still catch the ball really well. He was just an odd man out with an influx of talent, and of course they really like Cooper Kupp up there with the Rams. So it was one of the reasons for his exit. He said he wasn't getting enough balls thrown his way. That's not going to be a problem here in Las Vegas. He's going to get a lot of targets if he still has a fraction of what he had in the past with that speed and just know how creating separation and how to get deep. Then we can get this thing back on track. But it looked really bad today. Derek Carr went 30 of 46 for 296 and one touchdown. He also had two interceptions. One was taken back for that pick six at the beginning of the second half, which was really the game breaker already at the beginning of the second half. This is probably his worst Sunday that I've seen him play this season. It's just a terrible game all the way around. Josh Jacobs came in. He did his thing. He had 13 carries for 76 yards. He looked good, but in like some speculation, he might have been a little dinged up at the end. Josh Jacobs, she's starting to creep into that injury-prone conversation. You know what I'm saying? There's a guy who once coached for us who said the best ability is availability. And that's what we need more out of anybody, for you to be there and be available to be used on the field. And Josh Jacobs, I think he finished the game. He was actually just trying to come back in on the play that ultimately lost the game, that fumble. Which is like the first fumble that we've lost all year. We had two fumbles today. Luckily, we recovered those, which those could have been even more disastrous. But just the beginning of the game, that first drive looked really, really good. And then for some reason, we just got out of sync. Darren Waller showed up. He had 7 catches for 92 yards. Kenyon Drake had 6 catches for 70 yards. I think either Hunter Renfrow had 7 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Renfrow is moved up to being our number 1 receiver. It was apparent. Brian Edwards, I don't think is ready for that role to be the focus of the defense. I think he's still going to be good. I just don't think that's his what he's meant to do. If we get Desean Jackson in, maybe even OBJ as well. You're talking about a new 1, 2, 3 look at the receiver spot, keeping Hunter Renfrow, of course, on the field as our slot receiver, and Darren Waller in and tight end kind of gives us an extra man on personnel when you look at the things that Darren Waller's able to do. But our offense, like I said, we had 3 fumbles. We recovered 2 of them. That just really blew the game wide open. Our defense, they tried to show up. Yannick Ngakoue had 2 sacks. One was a strip sack. That guy's playing phenomenal. Everything I said about him in the last show and last week proved to be true. He shoots off that edge on a cannon. The way he gets to the quarterback is really unstoppable. It's crazy how he's able to create such penetration, especially with Mad Max on the other side, creating just as much chaos. So they're able to come together as a 1-2 punch. But Ngakoue showed why he was so highly touted in the offseason and why he's such a great addition to our defense. I think we can turn this around. Like I said, we had no interceptions. We just looked out of sync. We were off target. Daniel Carlson missed a field goal. Very uncharacteristic for him to miss a field goal that short we just looked really bad. We only had 29 minutes and 49 seconds time of possession, 1 touchdown out of 6 red zone possessions. That is abysmally mind blowing. And to see that even in the red zone, Henry Ruggs wasn't a threat like that. To see that we didn't generate anything in the red zone, 1 touchdown. We had, like I said, 6 attempts? 6 attempts to do something, and we got 1 touchdown and a couple of field goals. You are not going to beat even a low-class team. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but if you look at their season, I don't want to be disrespectful, but you can't beat a low-class team with 1 touchdown out of 6 red zone tries. You can't beat anybody like that. You got to score touchdowns in this game. You cannot score field goals. And long gone are the days we can rely on Sebastian Janikowski to get us those long points. But even with Daniel Carlson being a long-leg man, you can't rely on that coming down the stretch. You're talking about going to the playoffs. You're talking about banging in the AFC West. The Chiefs look very good today. We're still in the number 1 spot in the AFC West, so that's one thing to kind of hang our hats on today. It just looked bad. We had 6 penalties for 65 yards. One of those was very unnecessary. The unnecessary roughness penalty we got in the closing minutes of the game was really, really hurtful. It kind of negated that really big catch, I think, by Zay Jones. Brought it all the way back. Well, at least it gave us the first down, but it set us back 15 yards after that. We have got to clean the penalties up. It seems that we get upset sometimes on the field. We're just a lot of men out there. It's a lot of testosterone. It's a lot of feelings being driven. So you want to go out there and prove you're alpha male. Got to keep those feelings in check. Coach, he did a pretty good job coaching the game. Our defense, our run defense is just abysmal. I've said that in a couple of shows past. We couldn't stop anybody. You know what I mean? We just really could not stop anyone. And our defense, our run defense especially, has to step up. That's why I was hoping we was going to make a play at Fletcher Cox, but we obviously didn't do that. But we have to find a way to stop the run from being such a detriment to our defensive scheme. We're giving up 100-yard rushers. Teams are just finding themselves against the Raiders, and that's the way it's always been. We've been league villains since 1960, and no matter how we come, everyone's going to always give us their best game because people just do not like the Raiders. The Raider Nation, the way we act, the way we look, the way we dress, it just is the way it is. But that's no excuse for us being this bad today. It's painfully obvious that Derek Carr has never really truly had a number 1 wide receiver that he kept throughout the entire season. It's sad because I think that he's a very good quarterback. I know Derek Carr gets a lot of flack, but sometimes what do you have to do? You know what I mean? You have receivers who can't get separation. You have running backs who can't crack the holes. Some of our offensive linemen miss blocking assignments and everything that goes into that. So it's hard to sometimes generate offense when it's always a setback in the middle of the year. Either it's a broken leg, or it's a fired coach, or it's a fired coordinator, or it's players leaving the team. It's always something crazy that Derek Carr has to deal with. To see the way he handles adversity, I got to give you an extra salute on that, Derek. But on the other hand, I got to hold you accountable for the things you do incorrectly. Sometimes when I look at Derek Carr, it kind of pains me to see his decision-making and how he overthrows a few balls, how he doesn't. A couple times I saw him just miss Waller when he was wide open in the end zone. Twice I saw him just run a basic wheel route or a basic, just straight up the seam and just couldn't get anything going. You have to open your eyes. Their defensive pass rush was pretty good, but it wasn't that good on our pass. He stepped up and made a lot of big plays. He still put up points on the board. But there comes a time when, even good quarterbacks have a bad day. I'm going to chalk this up to just Derek having a bad day. He bounced back from adversity after the John Gruden firing. Actually, those 2 games, he bounced back from adversity. He came into this thing being one of the hottest quarterbacks of the season. I think he still is. I think we'll get this back on track. Maybe we go after OBJ as well. But like I said, Desean Jackson is a Raider now. I'm not really sure the details of his contract. I'm going to have to look that up and put that on the next show. Derek Carr, of course, said that he's going to put this on him as he always does. He's a team guy. He doesn't want anybody to take any of the blame but himself. But we got to get some things together. If you're talking about going to the playoffs, you're talking about winning our division. You're talking about winning anything. You're talking about winning the next game against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, like I said, they look pretty good the other day. The Bills took a tough loss today, so they're going to tumble down a bit, but they're not in our division, so I don't necessarily worry about them until the end of the season. We got to get some things going. This looked really bad today. It looked really out of sync. This is a sucky loss against a team that we should have destroyed. We're a far superior team than the New York Giants. There's no shade to the Giants fans. It just is what it is. Galladay came in. He really got his stuff off today. We just didn't look good. You know what I mean? I think we will get this back on track, like I said, with Desean coming in, maybe OBJ as well. The offense will look different next week. It will look a little bit more exciting, but we're going to need something. If we were talking about going into the Chiefs, I'm not right now. I'm kind of distraught right now, so I'm not even sure if they're coming to Vegas or if we're going to Arrowhead. But regardless of where we play, we have to beat the Chiefs next week. They are coming in. I said something about them making a second half push. People are talking about us being the same old Raiders. Maybe that second half collapse is coming. I personally don't think that, but it's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting second half of the season. We have the Broncos again. We have the Chargers again. We got the Chiefs for the first time. The Broncos also beat the Cowboys today, so it's gonna be an interesting game for Thanksgiving coming up. So it's a lot of interesting things coming up for the Raider Nation. I have faith. I do not lose faith. I'm one of those guys, even when the dark is circling all around us, I still try to find that small ray of light and hope. We're going to be all right. The Raiders are going to be fine. We are 5-3 right now. The wheels have not fallen off. The sails have not fallen off the ship. We're going to continue to ride out. D-Jack, welcome in. Breaking news. Like I said, if you just cash it in or you just caught this at the end of the video, Desean Jackson is now a Raider. Unsure of the specifics of his contract, but I cannot wait to see what he's going to do. If he still has that speed, he can take the top off the defense. He can give us at least a portion back of what we lost with Henry Ruggs, and that should be at least enough to push us past at least these next 2 games. No telling who else we might go out there and sign. John Brown is still out there. He's actually still a pretty good receiver. We have some things to do on the offensive line, some things to do on our defensive line. Raider Nation, do not lose faith. Do not lose faith. It's just not the same Raiders team that we have been accustomed to seeing. It's going to collapse in the second half. We are going to get better. We're going to get healthier. I was looking at our injury report. Week 10, week 9, week 10 is supposed to be really big weeks for us with a lot of people coming back. Possibly Renji Incognito, maybe Trayvon Mullen. Some people like that are supposed to make their return back to the field. So I'm very interested to see what we'll be able to do when we work those guys, a couple of our starters back in. Jonathan Abram got burned on a tough one today. Our defensive secondary stepped up. They were still pretty good, but it's a few things, a few leaks in the ship that we have to fix if we're talking about pushing forward into playing some meaningful football in January and possibly even February. So it's going to be interesting to see. Raider Nation, like I said, do not lose faith. Do not abandon ship. Let us stay the course. A few things to correct, a few holes in the ship to plug, but I promise y'all this isn't over. We're going to be fine. We're going to prove to them that we are a nation. We are the nation. We are the Raider Nation. This is your captain speaking, and this is your captain signing off. Take it easy, Raiders.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.